Well, that's an overview shot of the city of Johannesburg. One of the big stories to come out of the city this morning, which broke yesterday, is the collapsing of a part of Bree Street in Johannesburg. We'll get an update from Balenhle Mthethwa, SABC News reporter, who is live on the scene. So she'll give us an update in the next few minutes. And then also coming up on the show this morning, we're in conversation with the Ambassador, Dr. Kingsley, who's going to have a conversation with us with regards to the BRICS Summit that is coming up, and also that decision that has been taken that Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, will no longer be attending the BRICS Summit. But of course, there's also the Africa-Russia Summit that will be taking place next week. So that's the conversation coming up this morning. Thank you once again for choosing us this morning. This is The Agenda, and my name is Aldrin Simpier. And let's look at the question of the day. And thank you so much for joining us on the agenda this morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. As we've indicated, that one of the big stories that we're following this morning is the explosion that took place in Bree Street in Johannesburg late yesterday afternoon that claimed one life. That's the update that we got a bit earlier on from the Premier of Gauteng earlier on, Panyaza Lesufi, also indicating that 48 others have been injured. 12 people are still in hospital. Let's speak to Balenhle Mthethwa, SABC News reporter who's currently on the scene. Balenhle, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Speak to us just quickly about the impact of this road collapsing and the impact that it has had on traffic this morning, because we understand that this is one of the busiest routes in the CBD.
Well, certainly, Aldrin, we did see some traffic congestions just outside the Bree taxi rank, which is one of the busiest taxi ranks here in the city of Johannesburg. And really, that road that was affected is really a very busy road, given the fact that, you know, commuters do drive in between, go in between those two roads, trying to access the different taxi ranks within the city of Johannesburg. Those who need to catch a connecting taxi at the MTN taxi rank and would need to leave Bree taxi rank and go to the other side, and vice versa. This is the situation that residents find themselves in, and we do understand that there are reports of the police really being overpowered by residents and commuters who are trying to go to work and are therefore ignoring the fact that this area has been cordoned off and closed off from the public. We're also hearing reports that there are those, after being evacuated from the places of residence, are trying to get back inside the building. And we also hearing reports that there are those who actually don't want to stay in the area that has been provided as alternative accommodation while these investigations are continuing. I'm actually joined by the MMC for Community Development, Lubabalo Magwenju, in the city of Johannesburg, who's just going to give us a sense of, you know, what they've done in terms of, you know, providing alternative accommodation so far. Thank you so much for speaking to us. What have you done to provide alternative accommodation while these investigations are still ongoing?
Hi, Mbali. What has happened is the city has provided accommodation for people in number 3 Court Street. Our first priority was the people that are, the homeless people. So we provided them that accommodation. However, for some reasons, they've decided not to use that place. I will not show at this stage as to why they do not want to use that place. They've just disappeared. But over and above, at this stage, there is no one that has been evacuated from the buildings. Last night, a consultant was appointed by the city who was going to go and look at the structures to see if they are still intact. And the report that we are getting at this stage is that the structures are still intact. So that then gives us an indication that no one is going to be evacuated, not unless the environmental team that we've been sent to, that has been sent to go and check that gas. If they come up with a report that says no, this gas is dangerous, people must be evacuated, then only then that will be triggered, and then we'll respond accordingly.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. That is Lubawa Lomakwenchu just talking to us about those measures that they are also just going to try and put in place to ensure that people do have alternative accommodation in the event that they need to be evacuated from the area. Now, you will remember that the Premier, during that media briefing, did say that while they cannot ascertain or confirm the cause of that sinkhole, they are suspecting that it could be linked to gas, and this is why they need to investigate, and they've brought in private companies such as Sasol and Egoli Gas, as well as City Power to assess the extent of the situation. We do understand that they will be giving us updates. The first update happened just after 7 a.m. this morning, and we do expect yet another update at around 1 p.m. this afternoon. This will give us a better sense or a better idea as to what they plan to do and how they are going to try and assist those who are affected and who stay in nearby buildings in the area there. But one thing I can confirm to you is that we are going to see major disruptions in terms of traffic, as well as the taxi industry, which uses or relies on that road quite extensively. You will remember that based on the pictures that we saw last night, there are over 20 taxis that were affected and that were flipped over on the sides of the road, and some of them were even carrying passengers. So this is what we have gotten so far, and we've also gotten word from the MMC for Finance in the city of Johannesburg saying that it is very crucial and important that the road is repaired as quickly as possible, given that it is responsible for the economic activity, some of the economic activities that take place here in the city of Johannesburg, and that they might even consider reprioritizing the budget that was passed last month. And now this is just the latest that we have gotten so far. You will remember that there is one person who has lost their life. During that media briefing, we heard that the man's lifeless body was discovered underneath a vehicle, and that the efforts are still ongoing to try and locate the family members of that particular person. For now, though, it is back to you in studio.
Thank you so much for that update, Mbalenhle Mteto. And a bit later on, we will be crossing to Nozintombi Mia, who is actually right at the scene of that collapsed road. But as part of this big story of the day, we're asking you this morning, what do you make of what has happened in the CBD? One of the most historically significant streets in the Joburg CBD was torn up yesterday, reportedly due to a gas explosion. Do you have confidence in our investigative abilities for a speedy outcome? You can drop us a call on 011-714-0661 or 0662. You can also tweet at the agenda_SABC. Let's go to Nozintombi Mia, who's standing by. Nozintombi, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Tell us what you can see from your vantage point.
Thank you so much, Eldrin. We have moved up the road. We're standing here on the corner of Lillian and Ngoyi and Rustic Street. And as we move closer to the epicenter, I'm just going to step out of shot so my camera colleague, Kina, can show you. As we've moved out of shot, you can actually start to smell the gas that's in the air. And these are the cars where the epicenter of the explosion took place. And these are the cars that were stuck and could not be moved and still can't be moved until the investigations have been concluded. And, earlier we couldn't smell the gas smell when we were further down, and just before 9 o'clock, you couldn't smell it. But as we're getting closer, you really can actually smell that gas. And we saw some of the residents that live in these flats here packing their bags and being assisted by the security and by the police to move out of these areas. And I have with me now one of the ladies who was directly affected, Mom Esther. Mom Esther,
how are you?
You were here yesterday.
Yesterday,
What happened? Explain to me what happened.
This problem started around 5. in the evening time when people are closing. But luckily for us, we are in the shop taking care of customers. We just heard a noise, boom, like a bomb. We are all shocked. I told my boy, please check outside, let's see what is happening. Before we can get outside, everywhere was fucked up. The taxis are falling on top of each other.
Sorry, Ma'am Esther, we just apologize for the use of that language. Ma'am Esther, we understand that your car is also here as well.
It's there. The white Juke is my car. It's broken. Another taxi fall on top of my car. Thank God I'm not inside the car. That is the only way I was safe. I just want to thank God for this situation that happened. It's only God can save us. We just need a help now. They must try to help us, because this is the only car I'm using to manage myself. Now it's broken. I don't know.
Have they told you what's going to happen with your car? Have they said anything about whether they're going to remove the car?
Anything.
Do you have insurance?
I don't have insurance. I have it before, but I cancel it because I don't trust insurance. That's why I cancel it.
I'm sure you guys must have been so scared yesterday when you heard the explosion. What was going through your mind at that time?
I thought South Africa is falling down, because the way it's happened, if you are here, you wouldn't even think we're going to survive it. But to God be the glory. We survived everything yesterday. We managed to live here peacefully without injuries and all this stuff.
So you managed to survive with your life, which is wonderful. But now you have no car, and your business is badly affected because you won't be able to return to business at least for the next week.
I don't know how it's going to happen. There's no car, there's no shop anymore. How am I going to survive? So the government must just look onto this case and just help us, the poor ones, because we are poor. Now there's no car, and I don't know how to survive it.
When you walked out of when you walked out of your shop yesterday, what did you see? Just remind me. What did you see? Did you see bodies on the floor? What did you see when you saw that?
Yesterday, my sister, I don't want to remember yesterday. It's like a dream. Everybody was running, was falling down, standing up, trying to pull each other. My shop is, even inside my shop, is messed up because the customers, they run out. When they hear that sound, boom, it's like the whole place is falling down.
You must have been so scared.
Yes, I can hear you.
You must have been so scared.
I am scared. The shock is still in my body. Look at my car. The car I parked nicely and it's fucked up. The shock is still there.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Esther. We're going to leave it there. I'm just going to ask my camera colleague, Kina, to show you what Ma'am Esther's car looks like. It is the white Nissan Juke that's right in front of this black Hyundai here. And again, we apologize for her use of the explicit language. But I think it just goes to show her extent and her fear, her confusion, and just the sheer panic that people went through at the moment of impact and the sound of the explosion that went off. She tells us that it looked like chaos. People were running all over. People were running helter-skelter, trying to climb over each other, trying to get to a place of safety. But at that point, nobody really knew where the point of safety was. And we are seeing that police are still trying to assist some of the residents that are living here to try and leave. You can see one of the residents living here is leaving right now. They're trying to get them to a place of safety. I mean, women, children, people who are vulnerable, absolutely left vulnerable and devastated. And we heard from our colleague Valiantly, who spoke to the MMC, that they would be trying to provide alternative housing for people who were unable, who had to be evacuated from their places and from their flats and from their areas where they are living right now. But it is an absolute shock. This is something that is absolutely unusual, something that residents as well as emergency workers and police say that they have never experienced in the city of Johannesburg. Investigations are continuing. It's still unclear what has caused this explosion, but where we're standing now, the pungent smell of gas is starting to rise even further. We are smelling that pungent gas in the air, and it is critical at this stage for emergency workers as well as the police to ensure that they evacuate each and every single one of these residents here and keep people safe up until the root cause of the explosion really has been established and found.
Thank you so much for that update, Nozintombi Mia there, right at the epicenter, as she calls it, of what happened late yesterday afternoon. And once again, we'd like to apologize for the foul language that was used there by one of her guests there, Miss Esther. And Ekoli Guest has issued a statement saying that it believes it is unlikely that the explosion in Bree Street, Johannesburg, was caused by a gas pipeline or a leak. Our network has experienced no pressure loss, which indicates that the gas pipelines are intact and our customers in the area continue to receive gas uninterrupted. But as you just heard there from Nozintombi, that there is the strong smell of gas in the CBD, specifically there at Bree Street. Let's move over to this story now.